Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is Better Call Saul, the 6th and final season. This final season does not begin with the black and white Cinnabon flash forward to the present. We're going to be spending more time there later. For now, we pick up where season 5 ended with Gus Fring's failed assassination attempt of Lalo Salamanca, who is now real mad. But everyone thinks Lalo was killed as one of the bodies is badly burnt, and Lalo's laying low, happy to let the world think he's dead. The only person he calls is his uncle, Hector Salamanca, like, I know Gus Fring was behind this, I'm gonna find proof and we'll bring the chicken man down. The cartel figured out Nacho was involved, so he's on the run until Mike can set him up at a safe house. Mike Ehrmantraut's like, hey, Nacho was a good guy, we gotta bring him home safe, but Gus Fring's like, no, he's gotta take the fall. He plants evidence Nacho was working for the Colombians and lets the cartel find him, so Nacho has an epic shootout with the murder twins. But he understands there's no way he survives this. The one thing he can do is make a deal to have his father taken care of, and so they fake it that Gus Fring captured him, and Nacho gives a nice clean confession that it was the Colombians who paid him, and before they can ask any follow-up questions, Nacho grabs the gun and shoots himself. No, Nacho was such a good guy and a great character, and that's how his story comes to an end. Now back to Jimmy McGill, aka Saul Goodman. Business is booming. His law practice has outgrown the back of the nail salon, so finally he rents his own place, and Saul Goodman's getting closer to his final form. The main focus of the season is Jimmy and Kim's big con of their former boss, Howard Hamlin. Remember, he's the head of the Sandpiper case, the mega class action lawsuit that Jimmy started in the early seasons. Lawsuits like this take years to settle, but if they can impeach Howard's character, it'll make him settle early, and Jimmy walks away with a buttload of cash. Jimmy and Kim have an elaborate multi-step con to basically make it look like Howard's a cokehead. The best part is when Jimmy dresses as Howard and borrows his iconic Namaste car and acts erratically in front of his coworkers. When they confront Howard, he's like, yo, it wasn't me. He knows Jimmy's messing with him, so he hires an investigator to follow Jimmy, but that's part of the con too. This guy's working for Jimmy. For the grand finale, they stage a fake photo shoot to make it look like Jimmy's bribed the Sandpiper mediator, but by chance, Jimmy runs into the real mediator who has a broken arm, so it's all hands on deck to do a reshoot before the big meeting. So the fake investigator gets Howard the fake photos, and when the meeting starts, he recognizes this mediator's compromised. He calls him out and makes a big scene, but when he gets the photos that would prove it, the investigator swapped them. They're just innocuous photos. So now Howard looks real crazy. It's like, hey man, you got a problem. We're gonna have to settle this case. Huge success for Jimmy and Kim. Now back to Gus Fring, who's in full lockdown mode. He's even got a secret tunnel in his suburban house to the next door neighbors, which is a security headquarters. Mike Ehrmantraut's like, hey, it looks like Lalo's really dead. We don't have to do this, but Gus Fring knows he's still out there. But Lalo's not in Albuquerque. He's in Germany, following his one lead of the construction worker, Werner Ziegler. He basically goes on a date with his widow, which leads him to one of the construction workers who finally gives him answers. Now Lalo knows all about the secret meth lab under the laundromat. So now Jimmy and Kim are celebrating a successful con when Howard Hamlin shows up, as they knew he would. I can't prove it, but I know you guys were behind this. You should be ashamed of yourselves. But just then, someone else shows up. It is Lalo Salamanca. Howard's like, huh, who's this guy? And blam! Lalo kills him right then. Jimmy and Kim got him killed because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Lalo's like, hey, hope you didn't like that guy, cause we need to talk. He's come to them to run a distraction play. He keeps all his leverage while he sends Kim to go out and attempt to assassinate Gus Fring, which of course doesn't work at all. They capture her immediately and she tells him Lalo's at her apartment. So it's all hands on deck to get Lalo, but of course he's not still here. He's used the opportunity to sneak into the laundromat. Gus Fring figures it out and gets down there, but Lalo gets the jump on him, and now he's got the chicken man right where he wants him. He gets video evidence that Gus is trying to cut the cartel out by building his own secret meth lab here stateside. So now he finally gets to kill him, but Gus Fring's not done yet, makes a final move, kicks the power, grabs a gun, and it's a shootout. And when the smoke clears, Gustavo Fring is still standing, and Lalo Salamanca is dead. And so this Lalo business is neatly wrapped up. Old man Hector still knows Fring's guilty, but he can't prove it, so Don Eladio sides with Fring, leaving Gus Fring free to eventually, in Breaking Bad, exact his revenge. Our poor lawyers, Jimmy and Kim, who got wrapped up in this, are now racked with guilt over Howard's death, and it's finally too much for Kim Wexler to handle. Jimmy's like, come on, Kim, we can get past this, but she's like, no, I can't. I love you, I've had fun conning with you, but we are bad for each other, and she leaves him for good. Immediately after that, there's a time jump, as Jimmy McGill is living in his gaudy, expensive house, with the closet full of colorful shirts and ties, his lawyer-up license plate, and his office now decorated in its ridiculous fashion. Jimmy McGill is no more. Saul Goodman has reached his final form. In fact, we catch up to his introduction in Breaking Bad and get a scene with a cameo from Jessie, Pinkman, and Walter White. And now it's time to see what happens to Saul after Breaking Bad with the black and white Cinnabon flash forward. Remember, he's in hiding as Gene, the manager of a Cinnabon in Nebraska. But in the season 5 intro, he just got made by a cab driver who used to live in Albuquerque and immediately recognized him as Better Call Saul. He befriends this old lady who is the cab driver's mother as a subtle threat, but then he's like, hey man, I'll set you up with one big score, then you and me are done. So at the mall, Gene befriends the nighttime security guards like, hey, thanks for your work guys, here's some free Cinnabons. Gene makes it a regular thing, really befriends this guard who always turns away from the cameras while he eats, and Saul times exactly how long it takes him to finish a Cinnabon so he can train the taxi driver for an epic mall heist. On the big night, it's all going great until this guy slips on the tile and Saul's got to fake a mental breakdown to keep this guy from turning around. But in the end, it was a huge success and Saul's like, hey, stick with me, I got a lot more ideas. Saul starts running his old school cons where he befriends rich douchebags in bars, and at the end of the night, it's his taxi driver who picks him up. He gives him a water laced with some drugs, so they're out cold that night. There are other guys able to sneak in, take pictures of all their financial documents, so these guys wake up, think they just drank too much, and don't even know they've been robbed until months later. And Saul's loving it, he's back in the game. In fact, he's feeling so good that one day he decides to call Kim Wexler. She started a whole new life. She's resigned as a lawyer and moved to Florida, where she's got a boring job and a boring boyfriend, but it's all shaken up by this call from her fugitive ex-husband like, hey, how you doing? She's like, Jimmy, I don't want to reconnect. You should turn yourself in. But Saul did not want to hear this. He's pretty angry, and now he gets reckless. His next target's actually a nice guy and has cancer, so Saul's partner's like, yo, I'm not gonna rip this guy off. But Saul's like, fine, I'll do it myself. So he goes there, breaks the window, gets in there, he's almost caught. And outside, the taxi driver gets nervous, attracts some police attention. But it's actually his mom who starts to get suspicious of Gene, and when Saul lets it slip, he used to live in Albuquerque, a little Google search, Better Call Saul. She calls her lifeline, Saul Goodman's in my kitchen, and so Saul's on the run again. It doesn't last long, pretty soon he's caught, and with Walter White dead and Jesse Pinkman missing, they really want to bring the hammer down on Saul. But Saul Goodman is not intimidated, he's gonna talk his way out of this. Basically his defense is that he's a victim too. Walter White threatened his life and he was just helping him out of fear. And so working his magic, he's able to get an insanely good deal, just 7 years out of resort-style prison. But he's hit with a curveball when he learns that Kim Wexler went and confessed to their involvement in Howard Hamlin's murder. Yes, after her call with Jimmy, she couldn't hold it in anymore, flew to Albuquerque and wrote a full statement, then had a breakdown on the bus. She's not going to jail for it, though Howard's widow is hitting her with a big civil suit. The main thing was she just wanted to get the truth off her chest. So now when Saul sees Kim in court, he has a change of heart. He throws away his great cushy deal by telling the truth. I wasn't under duress, I wanted to help Walter White to make a buttload of money. And in a great callback to the early seasons, he talks about his brother Chuck and admits to himself and the court it really was his fault that Chuck killed himself. So his conscience is clean, and in a symbolic moment, he's like, hey, I'm not Saul Goodman, call me Jimmy McGill. But on his way to a life sentence in prison, all the other inmates are like, hey, aren't you Better Call Saul? And we get to see that Saul's having a decent prison life, enjoying his status as kind of a legend. In fact, he gets a visit from Kim, and they share a cigarette like they used to do. Unless they work some serious magic, Jimmy's not getting out anytime soon, so it's not a happily ever after. But at least coming clean has earned Jimmy Kim's respect and love once again. And that is where Better Call Saul comes to an end. If you like this recap, hit that subscribe button for more of the best recaps of TV and movies.